Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're looking at the 2014 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk. This is the one that's really built for off-roading. So says the badge on the fender, trail rated. And that basically means it's got more off-road hardware in the drivetrain, a little bit more ground clearance, larger wheels and tires, and these really cool red tow hooks. So let's see what it looks like when it's dirty. At introduction, the 2014 Jeep Cherokee met a firestorm of rank-and-file enthusiast controversy over its styling as well as its car-based platform architecture. With most models of the Cherokee seeming soft and suburbanite, the Trailhawk flexes its muscles and looks more the part of a true Jeep in the traditional sense. Its dimensions are actually larger by an inch in wheelbase, track and body width, and it rides nearly an inch higher off the ground than the standard Cherokee. To project its off-road cred, it gets larger wheel flares to cover its wider 17-inch wheels and all-terrain tires. The extra bulk and black hood graphic do go a long way to adding some manhood to the overall presentation, as do the lower skid plates and red tow hooks, and the coveted trail-rated badge is prominently displayed on the front fenders. Before getting it dirty, time was spent getting to know the interior, which in our tester had the rather interesting color combination of Jeep brown with red accent stitching. And it's not just the seats, the door panels, console, and dash were all deep brown with red accents. The color scheme, along with the rather 70s vibe wood grain trim, wasn't exactly my cup of tea, but there is a black and red color combination available. The seats themselves were exceptionally comfortable, the driver's seat getting an 8-way power adjustment in ours with the comfort and convenience group. Also option was the leather interior group, which heated the leather seats and the Jeep brown steering wheel. The wheel has controls for audio, trip computer, and Uconnect functions of the infotainment system. The optional touchscreen navigation and premium audio system offering a full suite of connectivity options, link services, and a variety of auxiliary inputs. The console has a perfect cubby for your smartphone or other devices adjacent to the bank of plugs too. Neat was the handy hidden storage area underneath the passenger seat cushion, which would be perfect for either a Glock or even some handy wipes for the kids. Rear seat passengers will enjoy plenty of room and adjustability with fore and aft sliding adjustments and seat back recline. They fold 60-42 for increased cargo space out back. That rear cargo hold is generously sized and offers additional storage underneath the load floor for smaller gear. The interior of this vehicle is actually pretty well designed. It's got a lot of the latest features that people want. The infotainment system, this all works very well, easy to use, it's functional, the stereo sounds adequate. I wouldn't call it top-end audio, but really the only area that concerns me with the interior on this vehicle is the fact that some of the things like the door pulls over here, there's just a little bit of a flimsiness going on that has me worried about how robust it's going to be in the long term. The first place I took the Trailhawk was out to my favorite desert mud hole, where I kinda just had some fun to get the feel of the suspension, traction, and crawling abilities. Like any kid at heart, this meant splashing through the mud mercilessly for the first 10 or 15 minutes before actually getting to anything remotely academic. The increased ground clearance and the more terrain-friendly approach angles of the Trailhawk made child's play of the test course, which has lots of little hills and moguls that challenge many of the car-based crossovers I bring out here. One feature I really like about the Trailhawk is it's got a very robust all-wheel drive system, which actually allows you to go to a true four-wheel low mode, but more importantly, you can also lock the rear axle, a feature that comes in handy for a one-wheel up and one-wheel down test. The console-mounted control knob for the terrain select system activates the four-wheel drive low and rear locker, which gives you unprecedented traction capability in this class. With a 56-to-1 crawl ratio and aggressive program enabled, it was time for the one-wheel up and one-wheel down test. Here, one of the front wheels is in the air while the opposite side rear is also free of traction, a test that leaves many of its competitors tottering helplessly. Here, the Trailhawk just moseyed right on through it like nothing at all. Nice. Experimenting with some of the other terrain modes on various spots of our off-road test zone, the downhill descent control, the hill start assist, I found that it was pretty difficult to get the Trailhawk crossed up and in need of using those red tow hooks. On the more mild back trails at speed, the Cherokee continued to offer up the very kind of capability and adventure the brand has always stood for, the suspension taking up shocks of deep ruts and washes with reasonable poise. I absolutely love to bring these SUVs out here to the back roads of the desert. It's just not only a beautiful place to go out and drive around, but these gravel washboard roads are a test of an SUV. Even the most expensive SUVs can really be rattled right to their bolts by these roads. It looks innocuous enough, but this vibrating surface has a way of showing the weaknesses in any vehicle. And so far, the Cherokee's actually not doing too badly. The structure's pretty tight. I'm not getting rattles in the dash, and the doors aren't rattling in their jambs, and the suspension is actually doing a pretty good job of, being somewhat isolated from some of the larger bumps and ruts. The electronic stability control is stepping in a little bit on these curves as I go around here, getting a little bit of sway. See, there you go. Caught it pretty good. And really the only thing I have to say negative is the fact that I am getting a little bit of a rattle in the steering column and through the front suspension over some of the rougher ruts. And while that's not entirely uncommon in these vehicles, it's something I'm a little bit disappointed with in the Jeep because it does trade so much on the off-road capability. Out here driving around on the pavement where most of us are really going to drive this vehicle 95% of the time, this transmission that's in here, the 9-speed transmission, has been sort of a mixed blessing for Jeep. It's a great selling point. It's the first 9-speed transmission in any American vehicle. It is also a transmission that has had a lot of headlines because, well, they haven't quite gotten the software exactly where it needs to be, in my opinion. And what that results in is when you're just driving around town, its shifts are a little bit abrupt and sometimes jerky at slow speeds, particularly when you're starting off from a stop. When you're out of the highway, it can sometimes sort of feel like it's lugging, and of course that is to save gas, but there's a lot of other vehicles with 7 and 8-speed transmissions that we test that achieve the same gas savings and really sort of do the same thing, but they do it in a lot more refined manner. Mated to the 9-speed transmission in our Cherokee was the base 2.4-liter 184 horsepower Tiger Shark engine. This is an evolution of the 2.4-liter World engine that's been part of Chrysler products for years, now with better breathing and more refinement. Now this 4-cylinder Tiger Shark engine is actually pretty surprising in the amount of power that it has. It's the base engine. You can also order the V6, but when you're out here accelerating onto the highway, for instance, it actually provides adequate power. I wouldn't say racy power, but it's adequate. The EPA rates the 2014 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk at 21 miles per gallon city, 27 miles per gallon highway, and 23 miles per gallon combined. In our week with it, we indeed saw 27 miles per gallon freeway stints with our tank average coming in at 23.5 mpg. Summing it up for the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, I have to say I really think it looks a lot better with the coating of mud on it, don't you? Whether you love or hate the styling of this new Cherokee, you have to agree that a coating of mud goes a long way. So what do I think of the Cherokee this week? Well, a couple things. First of all, its off-road capability is very good for its class. In fact, it stands out because nothing else in its class offers anything close in terms of hardware and ability. That said, this vehicle still has a few areas that need some improvement. That being, the interior has a lot of flimsy parts still. I really wonder how that's going to wear over time. And then secondly, actually and most importantly, is that transmission. It still is very jerky. It's really in need of some tuning, I think. So this week we give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm Sam Haymar for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride.